What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another ranked Joust tier list. And today we have 11.7. Recent bonus balance came out for 11.7. Didn't really change much of anything, if not change things positively for mages and anyone that uses kins, for example. As you'll know, the floor has changed for the passive. Other things like Shifter Shield hasn't really messed anything up, so those gods who build Shifter Shield still gonna build them even if you're a hunter or mage. Not gonna be as good as you lose 10 to 15 power, but the fact that it still gives you 20 physical power and 30 magical power, I believe, as well as all the other protections and other bullshit stats that you get from it, it's still very good. So I decided to make it today, as this came out yesterday. Today is the 24th. But yes, so this is the tier list, 11.6. We're just going to be updating it, very similar to last time. If you don't know, every patch since 11.5, I think, I'm just going to keep updating the tier list instead of making new ones. And it should just be a pretty easier, quicker process than doing a whole tier list from scratch, as that usually takes a while, as these usually take probably half the amount of time that it takes to make a new one. So we're just gonna go update this from top to bottom. Everything up top usually takes longer. Once you get down to the bottom, generally speaking, the things that are bad in Joust are probably gonna stay bad in Joust. So let's start off with the main man himself, Achilles. Now, as much as this is gonna be a little weird to some people, to other people who play, not really. I have not been banning Achilles, and that is just because there's so many other things that are better right now. And that's not to say that Achilles isn't really OP in Joust. He is. There are just more OP things, which then, by consequence, moves other OP shit out of the way. If they're not as OP, as Achilles is not one of them right now. So, with that being said, I'm going to go have to drop Achilles down to S. He's still very good, and if I still have open slots, like let's say once I get done with all the SF bans, he's still open, I will go ahead and ban him. But now there's just too many other OP shit to ban that Achilles getting through is better than the other thing getting through. And on top of that, you know, I've played up against some Achilles. They're not, you know, as hard as they've been in the past, so I'm gonna have to drop Achilles to S. Cthulhu, I'm also gonna have to drop to S. He's still very, very good, but again, not as good as the others. And honestly, whenever I go up against him, I hate it, not gonna lie. But he is pretty counterable, especially with now Kins being like really fucking OP. If you're a hunter, you can just destroy him in his ult. Fafnir is gonna stay up here. Fafnir got another buff on top of the fact that I don't think anything's changed for him. So him being SS is still gonna be SS. He is so fucking good. He does so much damage. If you don't remember, in the most recent buff, they made his ult at level 1 last like 40 seconds or some shit. Something to where it makes his ult so much longer than it was before. Which at level 1, you can get a lot of benefit out of that, obviously. So, or level 1 of his ult. And then very early on in the game when you're level 5 and you get his ult, he's just in there for a long time. So gonna go ahead and keep Fafnir in there. Serket's gonna go in there too. We can go look up let's look up the top win rated gods right now, and you'll see, proving my point, why Serket is still up there. Look, Fafnir's up here too. Bagasura is only because he has a pick rate of 320 392, and people who play him are obviously really good, so that kind of skews it. Hunbats, Medusa, Kabrak, Set, Rajan, top of your list right here. So a lot of these gods that I'm going to be talking about are very good as well. So with that being said, Serket's going to stay here. She just still, like, they haven't, because the problem is that Serket isn't OP in Conquest, so they really haven't changed anything. And with the meta not really changing either, if not making double tanks even better, you know, or just I wouldn't say make double tanks better, but it kind of hasn't changed. The recent Joust changes where you know, they decrease the tower health, and they also increase the protection shred and other shit like that, increasing XP, gold spooling, just gold in general. It really hasn't changed much of anything, as much as I really wish it would. So with the unchanging meta, along with the unchanging abilities. There's no nerfs or buffs to Serket. Serket's just gonna stay here because she's so fucking good in Joust. Medusa still as good as ever. Hold on. Sorry, my cat's being annoying. Medusa as annoying as ever. Still top 5. She just does so much damage. They did nerf her a little bit, and I thought that I was gonna do something. It really didn't, because Medusa still does so much fucking damage, and she's relatively safe, and so nothing's really changed for her either. You go double tank into a Medusa and you're cooking still. So Medusa is still there, very, very good. Even though she doesn't do as much damage, she still does a fuck ton of damage. Ishel, I'm gonna drop down to S. She's very good, obviously, and she does really well into the burst meta. And I do have to be careful about mages because the ceiling has changed. So if anything, I'm sorry, the floor has changed for Soul Reaper. I got to be careful, but Ishel is one of those gods that do benefit really well with Soul Reaper. So that might be something to pay attention to, as she will be spamming out her abilities and getting Soul Reaper a lot. So as much as I say she is S, she could be SS. I can make an argument for that, or I could hear out somebody's argument for why she would still be SS, but in my opinion, I think she's dropped down a little bit. I don't think mages are as good as they were compared to what hunters are now, because of the shifter shield meta. Even though mages do go shifter shield, I think it benefits more of your hunters than your mages, if anything. Atlas is going to stay here. I think for the most part, if they don't change too much for Atlas, or, you know, the meta overall, he's just going to stay around this S to SS rank. He does so much damage. I mean, I did a video on him and for the A to Z content, and he's still just like, he's just, I named him like the guardian that has everything. He has damage, he has CC, and the CC not being, you know, very traditional, like outside of his 2, you know, slows and shit like that are very good. So like, he's super good. He has everything that you would want. I think he's S at this point. Would you look at that? I almost did it again. Yeah, we already talked about Atlas, but I'm supposed to talk about Mulan. Mulan did get a recent nerf that changed her damage and overall playability. I can't remember exactly what it was, but a lot of it was damage, and I think some of it was cooldown. Does that bring her down to S? Honestly, I think it does. I still think that she, again, you can make an argument that she is SS. I haven't been banning her as much because I've been caring about other gods to ban, but I mean, she's still so fucking good. Fuck, I kind of want to put her in SS, but I think the damage, okay, so what I think is, I think the nerf done to Mulan was a bigger nerf than what they did to Medusa in terms of the Joust scene. I still think if you can get Mulan through, that she's still so fucking good. But I don't think she's necessarily a ban anymore, as much as she's just like super fucking OP, and you can ban her if you want. I think. I don't know. I can make an argument. You can make an argument that she's an SS. Cerberus is staying there. I think Cerberus, nothing's really changed for him. He still does all that damage. They kept buffing him and buffing him and buffing him to the point where now he's just really fucking good. Banable now, SS ban. So I think he's gonna stay up there. Neja, another one of these where I think he's not as good because of all the other things that you want to ban. And with that, I'm gonna go ahead and put him in S. Again, these top S picks right here, you're still banning if, you know, you get all these bans through. I think there's a couple more bans in here that I want to talk about. I believe in here. I'm looking through. I don't remember which one it was. Oh, I see it. Again, you can always just pick one of these bans, but these are your bans, and I think that I haven't been prioritizing Achilles and Neja a lot. And on top of that, Neja obviously isn't as good in double tank, even though he's still very good in double tank, as he would be in you know, squish your backline. So I think I think he's probably around that S. I haven't been banning him a lot, and he's actually been a little bit easier to go up against. Now keep in mind that, you know, he sashes the back line and gets them in the air. It's kind of GG's, it's wraps, but I would say that, you know, you get through your top bans, and then after that, you start picking one off and off in these ones. For which ones you don't want to see as much. And there's that. Ullr's still staying up here again, very high skill ceiling, so you really only see this at high ranks. But I still, you know, here and there ban Ullr just because he's just OP. Especially if I know I'm at that high MMR rank, I will go ahead and just ban him just because he does so much damage. Normally speaking, though, if you're like at your lower rank, you can either carry with him because no one bans him, or you just don't need to ban him because no one plays him. And there's your top SSs, a lot less up there, but we're gonna move on to S's now. Finally, Thoth is actually an A. I don't think Thoth is all that great as much as he used to be. I think he's still solid, like he's like a solid A. If I had an A plus here, I'd put him there. I don't feel like putting an A plus though, but I don't think he's S anymore. I definitely don't think he's a ban anymore. There's other better mages that you could go than Thoth. And honestly, I don't think mages are. I think mages are a little bit less valuable than last patch, in my opinion. Hachiman's gonna stay in here. Still very good S pick. You can even go the shifter shield route, which is annoying. You just go into your starter, Aussie, shifters, Hasten Fatalis, Kins, and then last item, I guess you can go pretty much anything, but I'd probably go Executioner or Dom. I will say that because Kin's got a buff, you can start, I think you start building this item third. So you just go, if you want to go the shifter's shield route, which is cringe as fuck, you go starter, Aussie, shifter shield, and then go into Kin's. And then you can go into like Xe, Dom, or Hasten Fatalis or some shit like that. Because they didn't nerf Hasten Fatalis, if you don't know. And I think hunters are just better in general, so I think Hachi is still going to be in that S. I don't think he's ban worthy yet, but Vulcan's still going to be S2. I think he's still very good. Nothing really changes for him outside of that mages I don't think are as good. Now, and what I mean by that is that, like, mages are still very fucking good because of the, you know, you still pre 9.5 changes, whatever. But I just think that hunters are a little bit better with the shifter shield. And a lot of mages that require burst aren't going to be bursting as much with shifter shield as hunters are just going to be autoing and autoing, autoing, getting that DPS up with shifter shield, in my opinion. Vulcan hasn't really changed much. I think he's going to still be there. X-Ball, very similar to Hachiman. You're both two premier top of the food chain AA hunters. Kukulkan's still going to be here. I think he got a little bit of a nerf, I believe. I think 11.7, but he's still very good. Nothing really changes with him. Again, we're still in a double tank meta, so anything with like a warrior, guardian, assassin, tank assassin, anything like that, still gonna be very good. Odin, honestly, I want to put him in ban. He's just so fucking annoying. Because of the amount of counters that he has against the top, I'm gonna put him in S. I'm gonna put him in SS. Just because of how many counters, like, he counters Medusa. He doesn't really counter a lot of the top SS bans, and now that I'm saying that, but he counters E-Shell, he counters Vulcan. He counters anyone that doesn't, like, he counters Marty, for example, if he doesn't have his ult up. It's kind of hard to counter Marty, but he counters a lot of gods that don't have a lot of leaps. He counters a lot of gods that, you know, like Atlas, who has a lot of knockups. He just counters a lot of them, and I think he's just SS. He's actually one of my, like, I think if I had like statistics in front of me, I think he's one of the most banned from me personally, because I hate going up against him, and if I don't go up against him, I'm either playing him because of how fucking good he is. So I'm gonna put him in SS. Agni, I'm gonna go put down to A. Agni's just not doing as much as he was before. I kind of, if there was an A plus, I'd be putting them in A plus, but I'm gonna go ahead and just put them in A. He just isn't doing as much. I don't think he's all, you know, he still bursts and stuff like that, but he can get killed. I mean, actually, now I'm thinking about it, Agni gets countered by Odin, so there you go. So if you're not banning Odin for these gods, you just get cooked even more than you usually do. I think because mages aren't performing as well, I think the ones that were like on the cusp of whatever tier they're at are probably going to get pushed down a little bit. And I think Agni was slowly falling off ever since the nerf that they did to him. But I still think he's a pretty solid mage. Baron's going to stay in here because Baron can pretty much do what a tank does, if not better. And if you're going to build him, you do want to build him more tankier than, you know, as a general mage. You can do that. You can always just, you know, go full damage and then put in like a breastplate or some shit. Or some type of item that gives a lot of protections, more bang for your buck, like a spirit robe or a mantle of discord or a shifter shield. You know, those items that are sort of hybrid. And I think that he definitely thrives off of that. AMC is going to be in here still. As much as AA hunters are a lot better, I still think ability-based hunters are still very good. And AMC being one of them. Again, another god that gets countered by Odin. I'm going to keep saying it. Odin's so fucking good. But AMC... still somebody screamed. Nice, love that. AMC still a very good ability based hunter. Nothing much you can really, super hard to go up against, and he's just an all-around very solid pick. Shiva staying in S2. I love Shiva so much. I was playing Shiva on my Smurf. It's at like 2300 MMR, and I just carry that game, bro. Carried that game with Shiva. He just does so much. He literally has everything you want. He has CC like a guardian with your knockups and your pull with your 1 and your 2. He has a getaway in his 3. So you know you have basically like a 2 dash, very similar to Jing Chen. Then you have a CC immune ult. So if you know someone wants to try and, you know, like an Ares ult or something, you can just use your ult instead of having to buy beads, which is really good. And he does so much damage with Rune Force, for example. You can do so much fucking damage. He literally has everything. He's basically the warrior version of Jing Chen, in my opinion. And you can carry so many games with him. So I think he's going to stick in S here. Marty, I think, is just like a better version of AMC. Just a little bit. I'm going to pause here because people are talking outside. Hold on. That's what you get for living in an apartment complex. Anyways. Oh my god, I'm not going to start talking again. I swear to god. Marticarus, I think, is just a better version of AMC, and that's just because he has his ult. On top of that, I mean, I think his damage is a lot better. Very underrated. His 3 can, you know, hide him away from everything. So, and you know, with the itemization that he can go with Soul Eater and shit like that, a Soul Eater is just better on Marty than AMC, for example. With that being said, I don't think he's enough to be a SS ban, so he's going to be in the same route as, so if I were to, like, you know, if I felt like doing it, I haven't done this since like the first fucking tier list I made. If I wanted to order these within the tier, I would put Marty over AMC, but I don't think he's enough to be SS banned, so they're both gonna be an S. Don't know how many times I gotta say this. Bog is just gonna be omnipresent as in any meta. Honestly, he's a very good solo tank if you have like double backline, and he's a very good double tank because he does so much damage. He's not as safe because he doesn't have a CC immune ult like a Shiva or a Jing Chen, for example, but he does do a lot of fucking damage, and he, you know, stuns 2, knockup immune in his 3, and yeah, it's always gonna be an S, I feel like, unless they just like gut him for some reason. This is the other god I was talking about. Ares is your other SS ban. He's been kind of a menace, even in your top, especially in your top elo games. He's just so fucking annoying. He counters anyone with any movement. This isn't anything new. It just so happens to be that he just destroys tanks. He gets so much power, he gets everything that he wants. And in this meta where there's like double tanks roaming the world, and a lot of them having a lot of mobility, like Fafnir, like Serket, like Cerberus, Uller, Odin, you know, he just destroys them. And I think that if I were to put him, I'd put him at like top part up here. Jesus Christ, they're yelling outside. But yeah, no, Ares is just so fucking good. Counters all of them, he counters everyone else. And in double tank, he's very good, does a lot of damage. Nothing really spectacular about him outside of what he does best, which is counter every other fucking god. I can't tell you how many times where I'm like, who am I missing on a ban here? And then like they pick Ares, and I'm just like, oh no, why fuck? This game's be so annoying. I've literally lost games because I didn't ban Ares, and I always make sure I ban Ares for the most part early on. you know, if they don't ban him, because he's just so fucking good. And if you're at the high rank, you need to start banning him more. Cabrakan, I think Cabrakan got a recent buff. I don't think it's gonna push him anywhere else, but it's a pretty solid spot in S. Again, he always has his mismatches. He doesn't have a CC immune ult. He doesn't have a solid getaway. He's like root immune in his 1 and slow immune in his 1, but he's not stun immune, and a lot of these gods can fuck him over. You always almost like have to buy an item for yourself, like an absolution or like a Magi's cloak, if you are gonna play him and you're going up against gods with a lot of high CC. So if you're gonna go up against someone with a high CC, you probably should not pick Cabrakan unless you can count them. One good counter that I will say with Ares, you can stun him out of his fire damage with your 1 and your 2. However, you still get countered by the Ares ult if you don't buy beads. So there's like, it's pros and cons with that. But if you buy Absolution, for example, you don't have to worry about that. But that being said, I think Cabrakan's still ass. Discordia, it's only right to put her back in A. Again, I'd be putting these in A+ if I had them. I don't know if I want to put A+. I don't think I want to. Just makes things too cluttered. They're ripping duct tape outside. Anyways, Discordia does a lot of damage. Nothing really changed with her outside of the fact that she was kind of, these gods up here are kind of teetering on S, and I think because of the recent mages not being as great, I think she just kind of falls down a little bit. Eset, I still think she's up here, man. She just doesn't get played a lot, but she's so good with her silence, her bubble, her 1 being knockup immune, and her ult just being one of the best ults in like a team fight scenario. With Shifter Shield being very good, she can go that hybrid route very easily. And I think that she's very underrated. I think you guys should be picking up Eset if you guys aren't playing her, especially as she's like very similar to Baron in that she can be support like. Ganesh is still going to be up here. Still very good. Not a lot of people play him, but he's still very good. Super annoying. I mean, there's really nothing else besides that. He's always just going to be in that S, in my opinion. Herc is going to be up here still, I think. Herc is very good. And he's very underrated. But you do have to play him at a very high level for him to make him like super good. Outside of that, nothing really crazy. I mean, most of these gods, these hunters, or I'm sorry, warriors and guardians that are going to be up here is because Shifter Shield is like carrying them to the top. I can't tell you how many gods benefit out of Shifter Shield that wouldn't have, you know, they wouldn't be up in this high rank if Shifter Shield didn't exist, for example. All right, on to Kuzenbo. So Kuzenbo, notoriously, has been banned a lot. I still think he's an S. I don't think he's an SS ban. I will say that if you really don't want to go up against him, I say if you put him one of your top like S. Like if you get all these bans through, then you just get Kuzenbo. Very similar to Neja and Achilles. I think that there are just too many bans up here that you want to get. Like all these bans up here, you want to ban. And if you don't want to ban one of these gods, for example, there's other bans like the top 5 here that you would want to ban, top 6. That like these are my top bans that I always ban if nobody else bans it. Serket, Medusa, Ares, Cerberus, and then Fafnir. There's just too many. There's just too many bans. So like I think Kuzenbo is top of S. If you really want to ban him, he can be like one of your top picks after you ban the majority of these that you don't want to see in your games. Morgan Le Fay is going to stay in S. I was going to push her down to A, but she recently got a huge buff in her ult that makes, you know, do more damage, and you just get another flat healing. I haven't played her with it. I haven't played with her with the ult yet because this was yesterday, but she's still, I think with that, I think that still solidifies her in S. She's still a very good mage. Again, can be countered by a lot of your gods up here. So if you don't ban any of these, you kind of get cooked. Persephone, I'm gonna keep. She just has too much team utility that these other ones like Agni, Discordia, and Thoth I don't feel like have, and that's just basically her ult. The amount of things you can do with her ult, I think she's still in your S. You just ult and then you hit them, and then like, you know, they have the beads, or they don't beads, then they're just kind of cooked. They just have to stay there for like what, 7 seconds or however fucking long that they have to be ulted until they auto it down. And I think she's still in your S. Jing Shen, I still think's an S. I don't think he's ban worthy, but like I think he might be like one of your top bans if you haven't, or if you banned all these again, they'd be one of your top bans that you would want to make sure you, if you don't want to see, you ban. I think you ban these over any of like Jing, for example. But Sun Wukong, I'm gonna put, you know, as much as I haven't been seeing him, I still think he's really, really good. And so I'm going to keep him in here. You can go all the shields and still very good. And you pair that with Rune Forge. I still think he's S. I don't know. You can make an argument. If there was an A+, I'd put him here. But I still think he's a very good warrior. I'm going to keep him in S. Rajin has actually been seeing a lot of play. Rajin's one of your top picks. And so I think he's going to stay... Where is he at? Rajin is still going to be in S. He does a fuck ton of damage. And I do like him a lot. He's a very underrated pick that no one really, plays. And the amount of damage he still does is very good. Like I said before, when they nerfed Rajin really hard back in the day, if you guys remember, he still did a lot of damage. People don't know that he was the best god in the game at that moment. And when they nerfed him a decent amount, he just moved down to like A, and then I think they buffed him a little bit more, and then he's just in S because he's just very good. So I'm gonna obviously put Rajin, let Rajin stay in S. Scylla, on the other hand, I think has dropped down a little bit. I think she's probably an A. I still think I think she's still better in this meta than she was like before. But again, with double tanks being really good, she just doesn't do she does a fuck ton of damage, but she doesn't have like the amount of like abilities to maximize her damage like a Thoth or even like a Baba Yaga would, because I played Scylla a lot in the double tank and it doesn't feel good. You use your 1 and your 2 and you have to wait like 6 seconds for that to come back up again. Whereas if you're playing, Baba or Thoth, your cooldowns are a lot shorter and they're a lot easier to hit. Like with Baba, you can have 2 of your 2s, you can have your 1. You still have your 3 damage that does a lot. Thoth, you have your 1 and your 2. They come up a lot quicker. Your 1 has way more damage in it because you have 3 shots of it. And I just don't, I think she's better into your more squishier comps, or maybe into like an assassin or something like that. So I'm gonna put her in A. Although I could make an argument. A lot of these you can make arguments for S, but I still think she's probably around that A. Still very solid though. Terra, I'm gonna keep an S. Terra's been very good. I've been facing a lot of Terras, and wouldn't you know, a lot of the gods that have knockups or knockbacks, they don't really work on her when you throw out some of her abilities. So I think she's always been an underrated guardian, and I think this specific, because she does a lot of damage as well, pre 9.5 makes her do even more. Hunbats, I'm going to keep an S. Hunbats is number 4 on your top win rated gods, so he's going to be in S. And that's just because, I mean, the build that I usually go with him would probably be, your starter, Shifter Shield, Jotun's Wrath, Blackthorn, Relic Dagger, and then probably like a Mantle or like a Stone of Binding or something like that. He just does so much damage, has the greatest, or has one of the best ults, and is just he thrives in this like tanky hybrid assassin meta that Sir Ket's been dominating for a while. So I think he's still an S. Chiron's still an S. I've been seeing a lot of Chirons. People don't realize that Chiron, I think people are starting to realize how good Chiron is, or maybe they're just going back to be like, oh yeah, that's right, Chiron does a lot of fucking damage and is super safe. But I've been seeing a lot of Chirons, and he just does so much damage, and I'm gonna keep him in S, and I put him in S before. There's been a huge increase, at least in my games, of Chiron, and I think that he was always an S god, so he's gonna stay in the S god or S tier. Charybdis, still very good. Very good with all the items too. She just fucking. I went up against a couple of Charybdises, and I'm like, oh wait, fuck, she does so much fucking damage with her 1 and her auto chain, and especially with the Shifter Shield meta, she fucking takes advantage of the Shifter Shield bullshit build as well. Hasten Fatalis works in her favor a lot too. Ever since they changed and buffed her, she's been really, really good. Bastet, I'm going to bring down to A. I think a lot of these type of assassins that, you know, go in the backline and kill aren't going to be as good because your backline is pretty safe for the most part. From seeing as you have a double tank. So I think she's probably around that A. Camazot similarly too. Even after the pre 9.5, he just wasn't showing, you know, all that damage against your. They're not really good against tanks. That's what I'm kind of saying. Like I had a game that lasted like 30 minutes, and like I played with a Bastet, and I was playing. I don't remember who I was playing. I think I was playing Scylla, and we were going up against like a Thulu, a Hercules, and a Scylla. And by the end of it, I had like 50,000 damage, and the Bastet had 46, 45. We outdamaged the enemy team, but because they had double tank, it didn't really matter. And that's what I'm saying. She's not really a tank killer, very similar to Camazot's isn't either. Yu Huang's gonna stay here. Like I said before, super good. Ever since they changed and there's been several buffs to Yu Huang, and ever since they changed his ult to make it less clunky, he's just a safe god now that doesn't have any clunk in him, and he does even more damage. So he's gonna be staying in S. Lancelot's gonna stay in S2, another assassin that's basically a warrior that I've been seeing a lot as well. You just go the Shifter Shield, Glad Shield, Phoenix Shield, and you just kind of crack. If you're going up against mages, you just like input Onis in there, and you just win the game. Seeing as they haven't fixed Phoenix Shield, they'd rather nerf the gods themselves than fix Phoenix Shield. It's still a very good item. Zhang, I'm gonna put in A. He's has nothing too much changed with him. You can still go both the damage build, hybrid build. You can still go, and I'd suggest going hybrid build with him. But he was one of those gods, I guess, that took advantage of the more squishier the gods were pre 9.5. I just don't think he's as good anymore. Still make an argument for S, but yeah, I don't know. He just doesn't. He's not doing as much as he once was, I feel. Still super fucking good, and you can argue S, like I said, but I haven't been seeing him a lot either, so that might be the issue as well. Okay, so we got A here. Donza, I'm gonna put in S. My god, this fucking god with Shifter Shield. Ever since Shifter Shield's come out, he's just been fucking disgusting. I mean, I don't know what else to say. The Shifter Shield kind of just made it to where any other tank items that you would have went on Donza, you don't need to. He just takes advantage of it more than any other hunter does, and he still just destroys and does a fuck ton of burst damage. Yeah, I've been seeing him a lot, and I hate seeing him. He's gonna be an S. He just does so much damage with shifters, and you just go the regular build or go even tankier, and he still does that same amount of damage. He's gonna be an S. Fuck that god. On her, I'm gonna go put an S again. Shifter Shield, taking advantage of that. He just does so much damage with Shifter Shield. Nothing else really changed. Weird how you get Shifter Shield that has power, then you get Hasten Fatalis, and then you get Kins, and then now he's just roaming around like he owns the place. Hou Yi, I'm gonna put an S for the exact same reason as on her. I will say with the Shifter Shield build, if you don't build Dominance, you run out of mana super quickly. So keep that in mind as well if you're gonna build that item. But very similar to on her, that's why he's up there. Baba has been I've been liking Baba a lot, especially with Soul Reaver now. You can kind of go Soul Reaver and get that extra damage at the beginning of the game. Again, remember with the Soul Reaver changes, and specifically with Joust, because they reduced the basically with the changes, they reduced how long games usually go. You were getting level 20 at around 20 minutes into the game. Now you're getting it around like 15, 16 minutes into the game. Which means that if you build Soul Reaver earlier on, or even that 5th item slot, you're doing a lot of damage. And I think with the amount of abilities that she has, being able to throw out her 2 all the time and her 1, and especially in her ult, proccing Soul Reaver over and over again, you can fuck up a lot of gods with that. And I think she's actually been performing better than a lot of the other mages, in my opinion. But I'm also a Baba main, so that might also be a thing too. But no, I think she's still very, very good, and outperforming a lot of the other mages, in my opinion. I'd rather see a Baba than a Discordia, Scylla, and a Thoth, even though no one really plays her, which is surprising. Chalk, he got another buff, like a lot of fucking damage. Like I remember I was playing Baba and I had a tankier build. I was going the regular build, but then I just add prophetic cloak and I get those stacks pretty easily. He ulted me and he took like half of my health with his ult, and he wasn't even building damage. The amount of damage that this god does is grotesque. He does so much fucking damage. It's actually insane. He's definitely an S right now. He's good in like almost any team comp. He doesn't die, so you might want to buy anti-heal on him, because you put Phoenix Shield, because they're not nerfing that item, with Glad Shield and his healing in his 3. He just doesn't fucking die. He's definitely fucking S, which is wild, because I hate Chalk. Charon's going to stay in A. Nothing really changes. Can argue S. He's a very good damagey Guardian that has a decent amount of peel. With his 3 and his ult, that's basically it. Geb, dude, oh my god. Geb always goes in between A and S to me, because in some patches he just performs better than others. With the amount of CC, I mean, there's always been a lot of CC in Smite and Joust too, but the amount of CC that he can just cleanse off of you with double tank, he's so much setup too. It's just so annoying. Seeing him cleanse somebody or just use your shield. You have to buy Sunder or Horrific when you're up against him. Otherwise, he's just going to be shielding all the fucking time. I've just been seeing him so much more. And then with the good gods, the gods that are really good right now, he's just been performing better. So I'm going to put him up in S. Jormungandr is in S now too, because of the recent changes. He recently got a big buff in his autos and reduction in his ult, I believe, cooldown. He's so good right now. I've been seeing him a lot. He does even more damage than you would already think he would do. So I'm going to put him in S. Horus, I'm going to put in A too. Double tank, shifter shield, Ruin Forge, similar to Shiva. I think he's just a lot better. Cuckoo's going to stay in A. Nothing really changes with him either. He's very still a safe, slithery snake that just goes around and throws down his NATO, and that's basically it. Ravana, I'm going to keep an A, even though I think Ravana is a little bit better too. He's basically a warrior, and he builds like a warrior as well. So, and because we're in a lot of the double tank still, as much as I don't like saying that, he's still very solid. I'd put him in A+, if there was an A+ here. He still does a lot of damage. People got to remember that the item Frostbound Hammer exists. If you just build a Frostbound Hammer, like I'm going to show a build once we get the set. You build a Frostbound Hammer on like a Chalk or a Ravana, especially against these ADCs I've been seeing a lot with the Shifter Shield. Very good, man. Sobek, similarly going to be an A. He's one of those guys where you miss your pluck, you die. I think he's just going to be an A. Nothing really changes. Tiamat, I'm going to keep in... God, I kind of want to put her down a little bit. I think Tiamat is good. I'm going to keep it there. You usually buy, with the amount of abilities you have, you usually buy Tablet of Destinies. But with how short games have been becoming, it doesn't seem to get as much value, especially when you can just get Soul Reaver, as that's been buffed. But at the same time, games have been lasting a lot longer because Double Tank just fucking makes games last longer because no one can kill anyone. So it really just depends on the games you're playing, where Tiamat can be very good, like S tier pick against them, if the game lasts long enough, or not, if the game doesn't last that long because you get 20 at like level 15. That's not enough time to get stack your tablet. But still, I'm going to put her in A, so because you can go either way with it. Thor's going to stay in A. Just your go-to assassin that can go both tanky or damagey. Usually I like to build him tanky with Ruin Forge. That's really all you need, especially to set up with your team. Nothing really changes with him. Nike is a little bit better, but I don't think enough to push her into S category. So I'd probably keep her here. Again, Warriors and Guardians double tank has been a lot better, so it's going to be, or she's going to be a little bit better too. Osiris, still think he's a very solid warrior, just not like, nothing really changed much with him either. Athena, I've been seeing a lot more too. Nothing really changes with her. She's probably going to stay here too. She's super annoying, but she just does what she does best. So unless we're going to go into a double squishy team comp, she's probably going to stay around that A area. Artio, bro, I've been seeing Artio a lot more. With Phoenix Shield and everything like that, I'm going to put her in low. I'd like her in S. Phoenix Shield is busted. And she is one of the gods that takes advantage of that a lot more. She did get a recent nerf by like, I think 80 health. So that does kind of blow it a little bit, basically just a revert, but she's still very good. You'll see another god that's very similar to how Artio plays, just a physical version of it is gonna be pushed up a little bit too. I can make an argument, I can see an argument to keeping her in A, but I still think I think it pushes her up to like low S. Alma's gonna stay in A. Kins has been buffed, so I'm curious to see how much that'll change a lot of the AA warriors. But as of right now, I don't think she's, anything's really changed with her. Artemis, maybe I should make an A+. I'll probably do that next time, because there's a lot of gods I think that should be an A+. But I'm gonna keep her here. Her with Shifter Shield instead of Gauntlet and like other tank items have been very good to her. So I think Artemis is gonna stay up in that A area, because she can take advantage of that, and have been very similar to Danza. Gilgamesh is going to stay here as well. Very solid warrior. Nothing really changes with him too much. Yeah, same thing with Maui. I think Maui's a little bit underrated. Like I think I've said before, I don't think he's S. I certainly don't think he's a B+ or a B god, B tier god. I want to keep him in A. A lot of the changes that made him subpar have kind of fixed that, and I think he's a very good underrated. I'd never be opposed to seeing a Maui. Merlin's going to stay in A, very similar to like Tiamat. Depending on how long the game goes, versus where you're going up against will dictate how good he is. So I'm gonna keep him in that like middle area A. Neith's gonna stay in A too. A lot of these guys don't really change too much, but I think she's definitely pretty good. A pretty good ability-based hunter that other ability-based hunters you would want to go first, like Marty or AMC, but solid nonetheless. Set, I'm gonna go put an S. I think Set is very good. Set is what is this, 7th highest win rate? Super good right now. I did a build. I crafted a build that I found on Reddit that absolutely fucking slaps if you get it online. I'm gonna show it right now as kids are screaming downstairs because we like to hear that. But here I'm gonna show you the build right now. All right, as you can see, so I found this build on Reddit. And this is a Grandmaster solo player who's playing this as Set. And let me tell you something. This man absolutely cooked. As I've been saying, Frostbound has been very, very good. It's been buffed so many times, and you proc it so often. And it's a very good option for gods who can proc it really well. Again, remember, slows proc Stone of Binding too, on top of the fact that Set has a slow, so Stone of Binding does work on him. You can interchange these items, a couple of these items, like I probably would, like maybe Spirit Robe or Mantle of Discord. But you get mitigations in this, your Sigil, you get the slow with your autos with Frostbound. You heal pretty decently with Phoenix Shield, and then Shifter Shield is no brainer. Stone of Binding procs off of your slows, off of your 1, and your Frostbound. And then Cad Club is the kicker, because you do heal a lot in your ult. And if they're not building anti-heal, and even if they are building anti-heal, this is a very good option. You have 20% CDR, you have damage mitigation, you just get so much with this build. Again, you can like interchange with like a Mantle or a Spirit Robe. Generally speaking with Set, probably a Mantle of Discord. But Cad Club, not to be, it's a very good item, is what I'm trying to say. Because it does increase your healing. So even if they do have anti-heal, you're still healing more than you would. And you heal so much. I remember I had lowish health. I was in the yellow. And I remember I ulted and I got all the way back up to full with this build. Disgusting build. So with that being said, yeah, this set, I think Set's in S. Let me close out this real quick. All right. Where were we at? Cupid. I think Cupid is probably high A. I think Cupid is, with all the buffs that he's been getting, I think he's a very solid hunter. He also takes advantage of Shifter Shield, obviously, with all the the builds, but I don't think he gets up to S. Nuwa, very similar. I think Nuwa is still very good in A. A lot of damage. You know, with E staff and all that, you can still be pretty tanky. You can also go Shifter Shield, which also helps your minions as well, so that's pretty cool. Scotty, I'm gonna keep an A as well. No, I'm gonna put her down to B. And that's just because AA warriors are a little bit better, which means that although ability-based warriors, AA hunters got better, that doesn't mean that ability-based hunters aren't still very good, because they are. But I think Scotty is probably just a little bit less good right now. I'm gonna keep Chang'e in A as well. As much as she shouldn't be. Nah, I'm gonna keep her down. I'm sorry. Double tank meta has kind of just destroyed her. I wanted to keep her in A because I do like Chang'e, but I'm gonna be honest, I don't play her anymore because she just doesn't do well in the double tank. I think she's in the double squishy, so if you go up against like an assassin that's gonna not go tanky, or a double backline team, I think Chang'e is good there, but not anywhere else. She gets destroyed by double tank. That's done with the A's. On to the B's, C's, and D's. Not really much gonna change here. Zeus, not very good. Does a lot of damage. Super easy to dive. Not very good. Guan, however, I'm gonna put up to A. I think Guan is a very good pick because warriors are better and hunters are double tank, blah, 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 blah. I think Guan is a little bit better, and that's just because, like I said, warriors are a lot better, double tank's better. Shred is very good on him. Slow, old. I mean, like, if he's a pretty underrated, but, you know, not the greatest warrior you would want, but still underrated. Aphrodite, either you play her like a beast or she's just dog water. If you're gonna play her, you almost always want to build her tank like, because otherwise she's not gonna do great. Bellona, I think, is A, honestly. I went up against a Bellona with Hasten Fatalis and Kins, and that was not fun. Super good and very similar to Amma. Erlong, I'm gonna bring up to A as well. They recently nerfed him. Before that, I probably would have put him in like low S, but because of the nerf, I think it pushes him down to like high A if I were to really rank it up there. And that's just because he got his 3 back. His 3 now has knockup, so you have like more of an incentive to play him because he does have a lot of CC, so Runeforge is even better on him, and I think he's very, very good. Kronos, I'm going to put up to A. He recently got a big buff in terms of like damage and overall his kit, and I think he's A, pretty solid. He was always kind of like your underrated hunter that no one really plays, but is a solid if you play him well. But yeah, I'd say he's an A. Kronos, I think, is an A. What changed? They got a whole new Ring of Hecate, which is very good, and I think that pushes him up a little bit. Freya going from B straight to S. Freya with Hasten Fatalis is actually disgusting. You just build all your rings, and if you build shifters on her, I hate you if you do that, but super good god. I don't think she's ban worthy, although I've seen her banned a lot. I think she does so much damage. I think she's underrated. If you're not playing her with Hasten Fatalis, you probably should. She's super fucking good right now. And that's why she's an S. Where are we at? Rama, I'm gonna put an A, just because hunters are a little bit better. Shifter Shield. Soul, again, I'm gonna put in A too. Very similar to Kronos. They have a lot more options. They did buff, that's right. They did buff, what is it? Mancroft's Talon, along with other items being introduced like Ring of Hecate. And so I think that those definitely benefit her and gods like her a lot more. Vimana staying in B, not very good. Even with Hasten Fatalis, you just run away from him when he ults. He doesn't really take advantage of, you know, just tanking towers anymore. He can't really tank towers and steal it because of the shred on it, on top of the fact that Sunder and Horrific exist. Hera's gonna stay in B, not very good god. As much as some people like playing Hera, she's not the greatest unless you can carry with her, but she's not that good. Al Kwang, I remember I got a comment saying that Al Kwang should go up more. I don't think so. I don't think he's that good, to be honest. Like, unless you're a good player with Al Kwang, I feel like you just get beads and you don't die, even if you go tanky. If you do go tanky, I think you should, or if you do build him tanky, that's what I think you should do, and that's where he gets more value out of it. But outside of that, he just doesn't do all that much. You have to get really close, and you can get CC'd and just die. Cherno's going to stay in B, not very good. Even with Shifter Shield, you just don't see him a lot. He's not very good. Fenrir, I'm going to keep in B. Still not very good. Gets stunned out of everything. Outside of like your normal counters, he just doesn't do much what he did before. Heimdall is still going to be in B. Again, very high skill ceiling like Uller. Ishtar I'm going to bring up a little bit. I've been seeing Ishtar a little bit. I like her a lot. With shifters and kins and everything, and Hunter's just being better. I think she gets a little bit more of that stick, that extra damage than you would like a Heimdall or Cherno, for example. Yanis is going to stay in B, even though he does a decent amount of damage. Very high skill ceiling. Either you're really good with him or you're not, and you just die. Jingwei is still going to be there. Super safe god, but not really anything crazy. Merc's going to stay in B. Even though the tank Merc is fun, tank Merc's not that great right now. Nem gonna stay in B. A lot of these assassins you'll see probably won't be doing that much, even though they, you know, they have like the item, what is it, stone cutting sword, that has kind of been really not that like effective from what I've been seeing. Still a solid item, just not as much as I thought it would push the meta forward, and that may be just because of the extra protections, or that's not enough, or maybe, you know, it's just there's other items that you'd rather have. But I think stone cutting sword is still very good, but not enough to push these gods up. So you'll see a lot of these assassins that go like that AA type of a build are not going to be that great. Poseidon's going to be here still. Very easy dive. Nothing really changes. Ra, very similar to Poseidon. Not that great. Rat, you can make him work, but not really. He can get counter a lot, and he's very safe. Like, you just ult or you dash away. But outside of that, you have to get really close, which against a double tank might not be the greatest idea. Starter, I'm going to put it up a little bit, and that's just because the Warriors are a little bit better. I've been seeing him a lot more, and I've been seeing the amount of damage that you can do with him, even though I knew you could. But just being able to see it with like Arc Druids, Shifter Shield, all that shit just makes me think that he's a little bit better. Sylvanas, one of your worst Guardians in my opinion. Super hard to play in terms of like mechanically skilled based is what I'm saying. His kit is very simple. You throw down your 1, you grab him, use your 2, your wisps, and your ult. It's very simple, but hitting your 3 a lot and hitting your 1 can be a little bit harder for people, and it doesn't really have that much impact anyways. Tsukiyomi is still going to be in there. You build him with Shifter Shield, nothing crazy, but it doesn't do anything all that much in my opinion. Tyr, I'm going to go up a little bit more. I think he's an A type of god. Very similar to Surtur. He does a lot of damage. Blink. Use your blink, Shifter Shield. Arc Druid is really good on him. You can weave in autos when in his like in between his abilities. Ymir is going to be in B. Pretty high skill ceiling type of god. You gotta have your walls. You gotta position correctly, otherwise you just die because he doesn't have a getaway ability. Daji, I think Daji probably goes down to C again because she doesn't have. I put her in B because I thought she was a little bit better because I think she had more impact, but with double tank she just doesn't do much of anything. She just kind of just dies. So I think she's back in that like niche area. Hebo just dies. Burst is not as good against tanks in this meta. He's not that great. Loki, I'm gonna keep him B as well. You're either good with him or not. You kind of want to build him tankier, like a Shifter Shield and like Blackthorn and Jotuns and stuff like that. But outside of that, he's just kind of predictable unless you're like a Loki main that can kind of carry games. Susano, I think probably, as much as I like Susano, I'm probably gonna go in C. Doesn't do much against tanks at all. He actually just gets farmed. Bake, I'm actually going to bring up to B because I think he's a little bit better with tanks being a little bit better as well. Still not very good. He still needs he needs something, man. He just doesn't do what he used to do. He's just not that great. Alpwash staying in C because obviously he's just a counter type pick. There's a lot of healing. You can go Alpwash and, you know, cancel out their healing and stun them or whatever. But outside of that, nothing crazy. Rachni, very similar. Niche. Awilix. In here, recently played Awilix, can be very good against gods that have leaps again. I'll say it over and over again. Awilix is not that great of a god, but when you go up against gods with a lot of leaps, you can do some things with it. Awilix actually is pretty good against Odin as well. I'm not saying that you should pick Awilix into Odin, but Odin does have a leap, so could be cheeky if you're good with Awilix. Baka just not good. You can go tank. I like to play him. Actually, Baka's my go-to when I just want to have fun like casuals because he's so much fun. But if you go up against a real team, he just does fucking nothing. But generally speaking, you want to go like that tank route because he does have true damage in his 3. You can actually take advantage of going tankier with him, but not good. Cleo, very similar, not very good. Kind of sucks. Hell, in this meta, probably B. I think she's probably in B. I think she's a little bit better in tanks because you have a lot more CC that you can cleanse with your 2. I don't think she's very good though, but with the healing and stuff like that, she can make some value. Izanami's still staying there, not very good, one of your worst hunters. Kali, late game, sucks the entire game until you get late game. King Arthur going from C all the way to A. There he is. There we go. Which is kind of crazy because literally what's pushing him there is Phoenix Shield. And Shifter Shield, actually. Shifter Shield and Phoenix Shield just push him to that A. And that's really just because the items are just really gross right now. And because he can take advantage of Phoenix Shield very, very easily. Obviously, if you remember, Glad Shield, that used to be old Glad Shield. And it was so broken that they had to change the item completely. Because they couldn't figure out how to fucking properly change the item. So when the item's back, gods like King Arthur, gods like Ardeo are going to take a hell of a lot of take advantage of it. That's what I meant to say. And then you just add Shifter Shield. It's just even better. Kumba sucks. Too much CC. Not enough damage. Poo poo. Nox, you miss one ability, you're useless. So unless you can really build her like that sort of hybrid and hit your abilities, she just buns. Nut, probably going to put up the B. I think she's a little bit better just because of the hunter changes. She can go shifters and do a little bit more than what she was before. Pele, not that great. I actually did not mean to put her there. I meant to put her in C. She can, nuke people. She can kill them and then die. But other than that, not that great. Thanatos, you can make him work. And not really, but like, if you go like breastplate or regrowth, shifter shield, if you build him tanky, like you can probably make him work because he does have an execute. The Morgan, one of the hardest gods to play. Probably not. Anything changes with her. Not that great. Still C. Anubis sucks. He just stays in one spot. Against double tanks, you're just going to get clobbered. Paulo sucks. Nothing really changes here. You still want to go shifter shield with him if you want. Still sucks. Hades sucks. This does no damage. So predictable. You just jump out. If you don't have jump, you have beads and you just kill him. Kefri, one of the worst. This is probably the worst Guardian. I'd rather have a Yamoja than a fucking Kefri. He does no damage. You grab somebody. If you grab a hunter, you're just dead. He just autos you. Sucks. Yamoja, not great. Probably one of the worst win rates in Joust, I think. Not good. Super high skill ceiling. Outside of that, nothing crazy. And then Mammon. I think Mammon literally has the worst win rate. Let's go check. Well, I'll say I'm wrong, but not by much. She is... So the worst win rate is actually Mercury, Thana, and Yamoja. Weird how all these guys right here just aren't... Krynos is really low for some reason. Mammon is right here. Not very good. So, there's that. Let me go back here. So yeah, there is your... I think you can see everything, right? Yeah, okay. That is your tier list. We can actually go back and check the other one. Actually, I'm going to pause it again. Sorry, brothers. All right, so here's your comparison. This one right here is 11.6. This is the current one, 11.7. You'll see there's a lot of changes to the SS area compared to the SS here. And everything from like B to D kind of stays around the same. Outside of that, AS and SS are... It's a pretty decent amount of changes here. Just for example, again, keep in mind, gods like Mulan, Eshel, Cthulhu, Achilles, Neja, still very, very good. And if you want to ban them outside of like these guys, I think you should ban first, then you can. If you ban like Serket, Ares, and they ban like Medusa, Cerberus, and like Fafnir, and you have one other slot open, you can always just like ban Mulan, for example, or Cthulhu, or Ishel, or Achilles, or Neja if you want to. These like top S picks are probably going to be they're very good, still very good bans that you can ban. So just keep that in mind. But I think that these are your top bans that you should be always banning for the most part, outside of maybe like Uller, depending on how good you are. But yeah, that is basically it. Gonna close out on that. This is your tier list for, oh, I zoomed out, damn. This is your tier list. Hope you found some enjoyment out of this. Not too much change. Just made the Shifter Shield meta, just made Warriors and Guardians a lot better. And I think you'll see that here, as a lot of Warriors and Guardians are a little bit better. And I think mages aren't as good as last patch, even though they're still very good. I think Hunters are a lot better, and you'll see that as well. There's like no Hunters in A that they were before. So that's, I think, everything that I have for you. If you like the content, like, comment, and subscribe. Discord in the description down below if you want to join that up. Great community. Want to get contact to me? If you want to have contact with me, that is one of the best places to do it. We have our ranked Joust tournament this Friday, July 26th, 5 p.m. CST, 6 p.m. EST. Come out, watch, show some support. It'll be a lot of fun, I promise. And I have memberships open. If you'd like to support me, one of the best ways to support me, if you like my content. But if you don't, that's okay as well. As you simply watching my videos is good enough for me. But other than that, I think that is everything I have for you. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching.